Hello and welcome to Getaway Day. This is episode 125. My name is Gautam, his name is Mason, and today we're talking about the championship series, which are both in swing now, and 2 games down in the ALCS, and game 1 of the NLCS in progress here with the Phillies ahead. We're going to get into all of that. We've got a little bit of This Week in Baseball before we talk about those 2 series, and then how are you doing today, Mason? Before we get started,
I'm doing really pretty good. So, if you are here for the live recording tonight, you were very well aware. Today is the exact 2-year anniversary of me adopting our podcast mascot, Mookie Pets.
So is that like a birthday situation where we like sing happy birthday or sing a different song?
So, yes. Because she was a rescue cat, we don't actually know when her actual birthday is, so it's always easier to celebrate the gotcha day than the birthday, because we think she was born around Cinco de Mayo, but we don't know for sure. So the gotcha day.
Which song is associated with that?
Probably "Message in a Bottle" by the Police.
Okay, that works. Castellanos just went deep, so the Phillies just can't stop hitting homers. We gotta keep podcasting.
Who said something racist? Because it's now a 3-0 ball game.
Oh, that was probably a Brenneman or something.
Okay, checks out. But yeah, so I'm doing great.
Awesome, yeah. I'm enjoying these series so far. Hopefully, we actually get some competitiveness though. Like if we're gonna see sweeps, that would be surprising. I don't think it's gonna happen, but maybe.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna happen either. The one of these 2 series is that could do that, I think, is the one we're watching right now. I don't think it's likely, but I think it could.
I mean, from a probability standpoint, the Phillies, the Rangers could more easily sweep now, already having 1-2. But
yeah, but I mean, they're playing the Astros. I have a feeling the Astros aren't going to be cold the entire time. So
fair enough. Okay, This Week in Baseball, Trevor May has announced his retirement, and he had some strong comments on A's owner John Fisher, and used the word scathing. I think that's fitting for what he did. I'll let you take that.
Yeah. So, but before I get into that, just a little shout out here for Trevor May, because Trevor May's been a good pitcher for quite a few years now. Like, obviously not dominant, not Hall of Fame by any means, but he pitched in the majors from 2014 until this year in 2023, sitting out a year for Tommy John in 2017. A career 4.24 ERA and 450 innings pitched. He was usually a middle reliever, only notched 26 saves in his career, but he had a solid major league career. So kudos to Trevor May on retirement. Wanted to say that first, because I don't think he's a guy that gets a whole lot of love around the league. But yeah,
it's definitely a class of player that doesn't get much recognition because they just pitch in the middle innings. They don't get saves. They don't get wins. They're just kind of doing their job every day, holding bullpens together. And yeah, Trevor May was pretty good, like in his prime, I would say. Like he had some really good seasons.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing that you may or may not know about Trevor May is he is, one, just a phenomenal person. And some people like me actually get to see that because he is a Twitch streamer in his free time. He streams in the off seasons. He's done it for years. He occasionally would even stream on like a weekend when he was home. But he went live on Twitch today, basically right after he put out his announcement for his retirement. And the A's organization came up, and he was quoted as saying the following, and there is going to be an F-bomb in here. I'm going to quote it, so not my words. To the A's organization and everyone in it, I love all of you. Every single one of you except for one guy. And we all know who that guy is. And then he took a long pause, took a drink of his water, and then just goes, sell the team, dude. And then a couple other things went on, and then he continued with the following, quote, Let someone who has pride in the things they own something. There's actually people who give a shit about the game. Let them do it. Take mommy and daddy's money somewhere else. And also, if you're just gonna be a greedy fuck, own it. And so the reason that I wanted to quote that entire thing is this is a guy who has played for what? 3 organizations in his major league career. Minnesota Twins for 7 years, if you count his Tommy John year. The Mets for a year and a half before he was let go for the second half of that season, and then a full year here in Oakland in 2023. He has seen decent franchises. He has seen franchises going through hell and back, but going through major changes and a sale. And then he's seen what's going on in Oakland. And he said that the hardest part about the entire season was seeing all this and not being able to eviscerate this dude for just kind of uprooting everyone's lives. Even though they're still here, and he's not even facing the camera and taking accountability for what he's doing. And I thought that was really important that we're hearing it from a player, because you could hear me go to the reverse boycott in Oakland. You could hear all the Oakland fans yell and scream and whatever. But even the people who play for this man hate him. And I use hate, all capital letters there. Like, figure out how much vitriol you can muster up in yourself or any one item. And that's how a lot of people feel about John Fisher. So Major League Baseball really needs to take a look at that. And I really hope some other recent players that have just retired, like Stephen Vogt, maybe. I think Kurt Suzuki was in Oakland for a year or two. I hope that guys like that are recent still come out and speak on it too. Is like, we've seen the Hall of Famers, we've seen the Dallas Bradens who've been retired for 8-9 years. We've heard their voices. Let's get some people who are actually there in the building within the last 3 and get it really public.
Yeah, but I don't know, but everyone knows, it's not a secret.
I know, but everyone knows, but it's still at the point where, because it's not people that are close to the game, the other owners and Rob Manfred are just kind of pretending that it's a small segment of people. And it's not. It's everyone who works for this man in the building, top to bottom. It is all of the fans. It is the entire city where he does business. This is affecting more than just 3 million fans that live in Oakland, because there's a hell of a lot more than 3 million fans that live in Oakland. But I don't know. I thought it was important to get that out there, just because it's big words, and they kind of back a lot of sentiment that a lot of people have. So,
yeah. Switching gears here to the Marlins. Kim Ng, the general manager for the Marlins, is no longer going to be the general manager. Both sides declined the mutual option for her 2024 contract. Sounds like the Marlins wanted to have a VP of baseball operations basically making the key decisions above Ng, and that's basically a demotion for her from the role that she held. And kind of makes sense. It's hard to step down and not be in the role that you're in and be okay with that. So I understand her decision to not want to be back.
Yeah, it's definitely an odd request, I guess, to ask her to be okay with that, just from the standpoint of, she was an assistant GM and now she's a GM. And now you're bringing in a guy who's basically the GM, not in title, but in practice, and then bumping her back down to assistant while leaving her the title. So, she's been with the Marlins since 2021. Has not really had a long tenure there. And it's been incredibly rocky, I think, as far as the situation there. It was right after they, or a couple years after they had traded Yelich and Ozuna and Stanton, and then they sold the team, and she came in and they built some pretty good pitching, and they had a lot of draft picks that haven't really even had the opportunity to make it to the majors yet. Some of them have, some of them are still pretty young. So like we don't really know what the impact of her legacy is yet. And they're already saying you're not doing a good enough job that we need someone else to come in. And that's kind of ridiculous. So completely get her leaving. I'm glad she did. And I think this makes her probably the single best candidate out there for teams looking for a GM or VP of baseball ops.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to evaluate the job that she did because she had a really tough situation.
Yeah.
And also, I was completely surprised that this actually happened because this past trade deadline, she went and made a trade that's not just, it wasn't just like a rental type trade. It was a trade for Jake Berger, who has 5 years of team control. It was like a long term move. So it's surprising that she had that authority. And then a couple months later, they're like, oh, actually, we want someone else to be making the key moves here.
Yeah, and that entire franchise has been turmoil for a long time, just from the finances before the sale and then after the sale, with Jeter being kind of in charge of all the baseball side of stuff, and then having disagreements with the rest of the ownership, him leaving the ownership group. Now they want to restructure the entire front office. Like it just feels like there's some stuff going on that nobody in charge over there knows what they want. And so therefore it's impacting all of the on-field and talent oriented people.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, what do you say we get on to the championship series unless you have anything else?
Yeah, I think real quick, probably worth mentioning. There are currently two teams that do not have a GM. Um, and in the case of the Red Sox, they don't have a vice president or president of baseball ops either. The Mets do. They just hired Billy Epler to come in as the VP of baseball ops, and but Billy Epler resigned here about 10 days ago. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how that works out. A lot of people are saying Kim Ng would be a good fit for the Red Sox. I'd probably agree just from the standpoint of she didn't want to have someone over the top of her in Miami. So going to the Mets would be a little bit of a weird situation. But those are two teams who could be looking for her services.
Yeah. But yeah, one more thing is that the tandem type structure can definitely work. It's actually really common in baseball today, but it usually those two guys, or I mean, yeah, it's always guys, but those two guys they come as like a package deal most of the time. Like they have some existing relationship, or they kind of have an agreement that yeah, we'll work together as a team. It's not like you're my boss, and you have to report to this guy.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a very common structure nowadays. I mean, I think pretty much every team at this point has president of baseball ops. But
Yep. Astros and Rangers. Let's start there, which is a series that's already in progress. So we're not going to do the full preview type thing for this episode.
Actually, I'm going to do a quick entire preview. I think that the Rangers are going to start up 2-0 in the series, and then we'll just break it down from there.
Perfect. Yeah. So let's talk about what happened actually in these first two games, because this series was extremely hyped. I think of the two series, it's probably the one that's got more attention on it. Um, there's a lot of stories leading into this week about how these teams really hate each other, and there's kind of some bad blood, and this is a really budding rivalry. I guess I personally didn't realize how big of a rivalry it is, but I think it's cool that new rivalries can still form today, and I guess maybe this one's been brewing for a few years here now.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a little wild that you have Dallas Fort Worth, and then you have all of Houston's fans. It's kind of like a donut, but with a really, really small hole in the center, and that's going to be all the Rangers fans.
Hey, that's a really fast-growing area.
It is. I doubt that every person that moves there becomes a Rangers fan, though.
Yeah, probably not.
I just had to take that shot. It was right there.
Okay.
But yeah, that game one though. So watching it, I was really, really impressed yet again with Jordan Montgomery.
Yeah.
Goes out and twirls another 6 1/3 innings, 5-hit, no run baseball against a somewhat inconsistent but really, really dangerous lineup for the Astros there in Houston.
Yeah. And if you were to pick like one key stat or thing that Montgomery did in the game, it was striking out Yordan Alvarez 3 times. Could not even believe that happened. I was like, okay, he got him once. He's not going to get him again. He got him twice. He's not going to get him again. He struck him out a third time. I said, wow, like, got to tip your cap. Like, amazing performance.
So I'm guessing you may have already looked this up or have it pulled up on the box score in front of you, but could you tell me how many total strikeouts Monty had that game?
Well, he struck out Abreu twice. He struck out Maldonado. He had 6.
He had 6. Half of them were Yordan Alvarez, who, fast forward just a little bit, had 2 home runs today.
Yeah.
With the flu.
Right.
Jesus.
He's incredible. So that's even more credit to Montgomery to do it against the guy who's absolutely locked in right now. And Montgomery's not even a strikeout pitcher, like you're kind of alluding to. He doesn't get like a ton of strikeouts in the game. And he had strikeouts in obviously huge moments against the best hitter in their lineup, plus the one of Maldonado with the bases loaded. That was another part of the game that I felt like was really like the critical point in the game. There was other stuff that happened later on that felt like the real high leverage, but that 4th inning, Maldonado comes up with the bases loaded.
So, are you team Dusty should have put in Diaz?
I'm a little I'm torn on it because I can see the reason for leaving Maldi in. He actually does better against lefties. I mean, Diaz is obviously a worse defender.
I was gonna say
it's defender, defensible.
Well, and the defense is the reason that they stuck with him because, I mean, I talked about Jordan Montgomery, but Justin Verlander twirled 6 2/3, giving up 2 runs, but that's still a really good day.
Yeah, I don't know, Verlander. Yeah, he definitely labored through that start. Like overall line looked pretty good, but
it was all in the first.
Struggling.
It was all in the first inning.
Yeah,
like, he had like 27 pitches through the first inning, and he made it almost 7 total.
Like, yeah. I mean, yeah, he was great. Like, he was great to be able to pull that performance out, but it was not like the best game he's ever pitched or anything.
Yeah, I mean, outside of really the home run in the 5th, like once he found his location, he was locked in and he was great. It was just that first inning really got to him. So
I take it you're not on team pinch hit for Maldonado?
No, I mean, really, I get it. How many outs were there at that point? Was it 2?
2 outs.
2?
Yep.
I mean,
like that's a game. It's a 1-0 game. You're right in it, and you have a great chance to score some runs. And Montgomery had actually given up multiple hits in that inning, like right before Maldonado came to bat.
Yeah, maybe I'm old school, but I probably also would have just stuck with Maldonado. Because, I mean, it's a 1-run ball game. Like, in game 1, this could go to 7. Like, I realize that you kind of want to win now and in the series as soon as possible. But at the same time, surely the rest of your lineup, you would expect them to do something. This is your 9-hole hitter. And this is a lineup that has Yordan Alvarez. It has Alex Bregman. It has Jose Altuve. There's other dudes here. And these dudes should be able to get to Monty or Spores. And I realize that doesn't always happen. So I probably would have stuck with him still.
Yeah. I definitely understand that perspective too. But it's that situation. And sometimes that's the time to be aggressive. And you have to be aggressive, I feel like, to win these games and win these series. I feel like the aggressive team, I don't know how I can prove this, but I feel like the aggressive team is the team that ends up winning a lot of these games.
Yeah, that's kind of... I'm trying to think. There was a stat the other day. I think it was actually with Texas. Texas has been one of the most aggressive on the base paths teams in the postseason so far. After stealing 78 bases or something throughout the course of the year. Was it Texas? Am I thinking that right?
They have not been aggressive under Bochy at all on the base paths. Arizona, on the other hand, they are a very aggressive base running team.
Stolen bases by team. Yeah, okay, so it was Texas that I was saying about. But Texas in the postseason here, their first to thirds, they're just taking the extra base. They've been a lot more aggressive than they've been throughout the course of the regular season. And that's kind of, at least in some people's eyes, part of the reason why they've been able to go on this hot streak and win the first 7 games of their postseason. So get some timely hits, take the extra base, score some runs early. Puts you in a good spot.
Yeah, and you mentioned Maldonado's the 9-hitter. The 9-hitter for the Rangers, Leody Taveras, hits a home run in that game for one of their 2 runs. So when your 9-hitter's hitting home runs and the rest of the lineup is mashing as well, that's been the key to Texas's success. It's just outscore everybody, and they've had good pitching, and the bullpen apparently holds up every day. It's been pretty cool to see. I mean,
now hold that thought for a minute though. On the bullpen holds it. This game 2, it started to show a little bit of what was.
It was looking a little leaky there. With Chapman and.
Yeah, and I mean, in Chapman's defense, the ball that Yordan was able to hit out tonight
perfectly located.
Probably not have been hit out.
Yeah, it was a perfect pitch. It was 89 on the corner of the zone.
Yeah,
on the outside.
And Yordan just got extended on it and pulled it somehow.
Yeah, incredible
100.
Stuff.
I think that one was 111 off the bat.
Yeah.
Yeah, how? I couldn't have reached that ball.
Right.
And he hit it 111. It's just wild.
It is. And what was interesting about today's game, too, is that the Astros actually out-homered Texas, and that's only been the second game in all of the postseason this year where the team that out-homers the other team actually lost a game. So it's 15-2 now for the team that
and I mean the
more homers.
2 first-inning errors that kind of helped the Rangers score 4 there in the first inning. That was kind of the big key there today.
And were they both on Framber? They were, I believe.
Honestly, I'm not 100% sure, because I just got the game on and it was already run scored. So,
yeah, I think I saw Framber had a throwing error in the first inning, and then he might have had another error later on. But I guess let's look to game 3 and beyond in the series.
I got one more thing that I want to look back at game 1 for.
Okay.
If you haven't already been, watch Evan Carter. The dude made 2 great plays in the outfield yesterday. Yeah. And they were very much worth watching. And he continues to get on base. I actually saw him ground out today, and I was heartbroken.
You're like, this guy's supposed to be on base.
Yeah.
That's what he does.
Yeah, and honestly, he almost beat it out too. That's the funny part. Like
What
routine
he's
ground
doing
ball to the second base, and he almost beat it out.
Yeah, is Evan Carter like secretly a superstar that we just didn't know?
Randy Arozarena with less power. Postseason Randy with less power.
Yeah, and the defense has been surprising. He had 2 great plays in that game, including the one that ended up being a double play where he just jumped up in basically the deepest part of the ballpark to rob Alex Bregman, and then he threw back in, and they doubled off Altuve on that really weird play where he didn't retouch the base.
Yeah, so they got Altuve out on appeal. So during the initial play, he wasn't ruled out, appealed to second, and overturned it. But
and that was another critical moment because Alvarez was coming up next.
So something that I was thinking about when I saw that, the bases are bigger than they've ever been. Jose Altuve is not very large. That man missed the base. It's like his entire stride.
Yeah, I feel like that's I don't know. I get why the rule exists, so you can't just cut the corner, but he was right there. He was right at second base. Like it barely counts as him passing it. I don't know.
Attaboy, Altuve. Oh, don't tell Jake Mintz that I said that.
Yeah, I'll be quiet. Yeah.
God, that ticked me off too. Why Jake Mintz is getting all that flack from all the actual media.
Yeah.
Screw those guys. Anyway.
Anything else from games 1 or 2?
No, I think I'm ready to move on.
Okay. So, Astros are not going to give up the fight here. I can't remember if they've ever been down in a series like 2-0 and come back in their recent domination years. I can't recall one, but that does not mean that they can't do it. So what do the Astros need to do here to get back in the series, first off?
Well, first thing they need to do is not let the Rangers on the board in the first inning. That seems to be a problem. I guess technically game 1 was the second inning, but Texas has scored first in both games. Texas also scored first, I think, in pretty much every other game of every other series
in the first
up until
inning.
this point.
Yeah.
And so when this Texas team gets a lead in the beginning of the game, their starters seem to be very, very comfortable. I mean, today was Nate Eovaldi again, and as you and I were talking here the last couple days, like he has not been particularly good this year. And
well, I wouldn't say that
after his injury.
Yeah.
He was not particularly good. And then all of a sudden in the postseason, he looks like 2018 postseason Nate Eovaldi. Yeah. And his line looks a little bit weird because of a late home run that he had in today's start, but another 6 innings, only giving up 5 hits, striking out 9. He did give up 3 runs on 2 homers, though. That was the big difference in this start versus the others for Eovaldi. But it seems like when their pitchers are pitching with a lead, they're confident, they hit their spots, and they're able to pitch effectively. And I can't really think of a time where they haven't had a lead.
Yeah, exactly. When you have a lead in every game, it just makes things all the more easy for, the pitchers to get into gear and pitch with that lead. And the bullpen for Texas, Bruce Bochy's basically had the same plan for every game that they're leading. Just go to Spores, then go to Chapman, and then go to Leclerc, and it works every single time.
It always gets rocky in the Chapman inning. It's always the Chapman inning, too.
Yeah, because Chapman's got terrible command. He's not the guy that he used to be. He's not bad. Like, the man still throws 100 miles per hour and has nasty breaking pitches. Like, he's a very good pitcher, but he's not super reliable because he can have outings where he just does not have command, and that happens from time to time. I think we even saw it in today's game with Leclerc in Leclerc's first inning when he relieved Chapman. He got 2 strikes and then he threw like 9 straight balls, and then he kind of got bailed out by Chas McCormick being overly aggressive, and then he reset in the between innings, and he was able to come out and pitch a good ninth inning. So those guys always feel a little scary every time they're out there. It's like, is this gonna really hold up? And so far it has, but I mean, I wouldn't bet on it continuing to do that for the next 2-3 games going forward. Like, they're gonna blow one, right?
Yeah, and when they do, I hope to God it's Chapman that does it, because I hate Aroldis Chapman. For those of you that don't know me, just everything about the man I do not like. I admire the velocity with which he can throw a baseball, and that's about it. So I really want Texas to win, because I really want to see some new teams make it to the World Series. And it hurt me a lot whenever they traded for Chapman earlier in the year, because it's like, well, crap. I want to like them and I want to despise him. So how do I do this? So if they blow a save, I want it to be Chapman. But I still want the team to win. So that's what I'm rooting for.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about the Rangers side of it, but the Astros side, like, what are they doing exactly wrong here?
Well,
are they just getting beat? Are they playing badly? What are they doing?
Well, Framber today just looked flat out awful.
Yeah, he's been bad for a while. And for a guy that used to be extremely reliable, he just kind of fell apart in the second half this year. It's kind of strange. I don't know, maybe he's hurt or something.
Yeah, my guess is he's fighting through some injury there. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, it's October, so but they need to get some steady starting pitching here, because asking your bullpen to go 6 1/3 every night is probably not the move if you want to win.
Yeah.
Verlander was able to go 6 yesterday, or 6 2/3 yesterday. That was big. So it allowed them to be able to cover some more innings tonight, with Framber having a bad start, giving up 4 earned, 5 total runs in 2 2/3 innings. And they get an off day tomorrow, so that'll be nice to help rest them. But they're going to need who's next? Javier?
Christian Javier, who has a serious walks issue. Last game he was decent, but he walked 5, and that's going to be always something that's going to limit how far he can go into starts if he's just walking a bunch of batters. I mean, their bullpen's very good, so I'm not really worried about them running out of relievers or anything like that. They have a pretty deep staff.
But I think what they need, though, is they need Framber and Javier, because both of them are part of no-hitters, right? In the past.
Yeah, Javier had the one in the World Series last year.
Yeah, and then Framber had one earlier this year, or was his last year, and this year was Urquidy?
I think Framber had one this year.
Okay, well, they need those Framber and Christian Javiers.
Uh-huh.
I think just having that calming presence on the mound where it doesn't feel like you're always behind. And I mean, this kind of goes with the don't let the Rangers score first, as they kind of go hand in hand. But having that dominating presence on the mound takes a lot off of the lineup, because today they had to battle back from 4 down.
And they did.
They
Credit
did.
to them for actually battling back there. They just didn't have enough.
But then Texas hit another home run, and it made it incredibly difficult to come back and win that game. And obviously they weren't able to finish it. So their starting pitching is the key. They need it to put them in a spot where they don't have to move mountains just to win a game.
Yeah. My guy I want to mention is Kyle Tucker. You mentioned all the great Astros in their lineup. You mentioned Altuve and Bregman and
I forgot
Alvarez.
to mention
You
Tucker,
forgot Kyle Tucker,
the guy that I keep
and
saying I want to win an MVP.
yeah, so you're part of the problem here.
Yeah, that's true.
But the reason you might have forgotten about him is because he only has 2 hits in the entire postseason so far here in 6 games, and that's a big issue. And he's kind of going through it right now because I noticed in today's game he came up to the plate with no batting gloves, and I was like, "Huh." I thought he had stopped doing that this season, and he struck out or something. The next at bat, he came back with his batting gloves, so he's like trying to find something here, and don't know if he's gonna find it, but
might I suggest Matt Caesar's jockstrap?
that could come into handy.
Mm-hmm.
I think,
or even just Matt Caesar's bat. But we got to get the Magic Man down to, well, I guess they're going to Dallas or Arlington. So we need to get the Magic Man down to Arlington with a jockstrap and a bat.
I agree, yeah.
You think if I tweet at him, he'll respond to that?
Probably not.
Dang.
If you want to buy some of his art, maybe then.
Okay. If he does art that's not just paintings of the Cubs, I might be in.
Okay. And one other thing about the Rangers, they've got some pitchers coming back who have not pitched at all in the postseason. Max Scherzer, I'm so curious to see what happens with Max Scherzer coming back to start Game 3 because he's had some injuries in October's past, and it seems like sometimes it just does not really go his way in recent years. I feel like he's had some rough postseason starts. He's also had some amazing ones, going back to like World Series in 2019. At this point, I have no clue what to expect from a guy that hasn't pitched in about a month.
A little over. It was the 12th of September was his last start.
Yeah, and he's beat his projected timetable to return because that's what Max Scherzer does. I mean, how's he going to do tomorrow against not tomorrow, the day after?
Yeah, that's a difficult question to answer because to your point that he's kind of had some postseason blowups in the past, like really only one recently.
Oh, really? Maybe I'm just misremembering.
Yeah, it was last year, so you're remembering recent. But really, outside of that, he pitches pretty well in the postseason. Like the last time that he had an ERA over like 3.75 in the postseason outside of 2022 was actually back when he was with Detroit in 2014. And then there was only one other, and that was in 2011, also with Detroit.
So I'm kind of shorting Max here. He's a great pitcher, and he has great postseason performances as well.
Yeah, it's just recent memory is kind of tainting that. But also, I feel like recent memory might be kind of important here.
Pretty relevant. We're talking about a 40-plus-year-old guy.
Who's coming back from an injury.
Yeah.
To then pitch in one of the biggest games of the year. Granted, Texas has done a great job of making it so the pressure for Max to perform well is a lot lower than if they were tied in the series or losing the series, God forbid. So they have a 2-0 lead in this thing. He's pitching Game 3. There's time to figure it out if his start does not go well. Now, obviously, your plan is for him to be Max Scherzer and pitch at least 5, if not 6 or 7, and dominate.
Yeah. But, I mean, I guess I would be shocked if he went 7 in this first start back after not pitching for a month plus.
Well, I mean, I would be too, but like in an ideal perfect world, that's what you want from Max Scherzer in a postseason start.
Yeah, that's true.
But honestly, if he goes 4 and pitches really well, I would not be surprised if they took him out just to help build up his arm a little bit for some later starts in the postseason, because if he pitches well for 4 innings, they're well on their way to getting him another start.
Absolutely, yeah. And he's one of those guys, like, he's going to be just so amped up for this start. you could see him just like running out of steam sometime mid innings. You want to avoid the Scherzer that gives up a bunch of home runs because we know the Astros can hit them, and they're going to an even more hitter friendly ballpark in Arlington.
Well, and the other thing is the last time, or well, I guess not the last time, the entire season, in all of the games that Houston played against Texas in Texas this year, they have outscored the Rangers 39-10.
Yeah, did you know that the Astros were kind of bad at home this season?
They were below 500 throughout the course of the season at home in Minute Maid Park, which is wild.
I don't think that's ever happened for a team that's like made the World Series to be under 500 at home.
That sounds like the stat they were mentioning earlier.
Yeah.
Joe Davis was very interested in that stat.
I mean, it's fascinating, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, 100%.
That they just play better on the road randomly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yet they have home field advantage throughout the postseason.
Yeah. Can we forego this?
That's what I'd say if I were them. Although, I wouldn't want to play in Philly in the World Series either.
Oh, man.
Really, I feel like if we get a rematch of last year's World Series, it ain't going the same way.
Yeah. Yeah. That'd be good. I wouldn't mind any matchup actually of the few combinations we have.
I mean, I wouldn't really either, because if anyone beats the Astros, then it just kind of shows that, one, we don't give some of the NL teams enough credit, because this Astros team is really good. Mm-hmm. But then if it's not the Astros, it means we get basically new teams. Like, yeah, the Phillies were there last year, but nobody expected that. It's not like we have two dynasties going up against each other.
So who pulls this one out? The Rangers hold on. They just have to win 2 of the next 5 games.
That's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm thinking Texas wins this.
In how many?
Six.
Okay. That's okay. So you're gonna say that the Astros show some fight, but
they take 2 of 3 in Arlington, and then the Rangers have to clinch it on the road. But I think they can do it. I do think that Wednesday might be one of those 2 losses for Texas. I'm a little bit worried just with Max coming back and the fact that the Astros are now in fight or flight mode. So I would not be surprised to see Altuve come out with a leadoff bomb off of a Max that hasn't quite found it yet.
That would be really funny to see Max's reaction to that.
His eyes would both be the same color and they would be red.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna go Rangers in 5 because they're going home. Just because the Astros are good on the road doesn't mean that Texas isn't good at home, and they seem to hit really well in their ballpark, and everyone's on fire, it feels like, and they're just going to ride that hot bullpen and be able to somehow be the Phillies from last year or the Braves from 2021, where their bullpen just rounds into form at exactly the right time.
I think Brad Miller's going to get 1 start.
Is Brad Miller on the team?
I don't remember. He was at some point this year.
There's no way Brad Miller's on the roster now.
Probably not.
Yeah.
I wish he were. That'd be great.
That would be amazing if I didn't know that. And he was there.
Let's find out.
He was definitely on the team this year, though. You're right about that.
Okay, Texas Rangers active roster. Infielders. No, it looks like Josh Smith got his spot.
He has not played at all. Is there any other guy that's just like completely forgotten? I feel like half the guys in the bullpen haven't even pitched.
Well, 2 of the outfielders are kind of forgotten, and Robbie Grossman and Travis Jankowski.
Robbie Grossman started today.
Oh, did he really? All right. Yeah. Well, Travis Jankowski then. Yeah. Hedgie.
He's there for moral support.
Yeah, I mean, when you got Jonah Heim and Mitch Garver, you don't need Hedgie.
That's the best catcher room in the league.
Yeah. I don't really fully understand why Hedgie's there and not like another useful bench bat, but
I feel like Hedgie was acquired when Heim was hurt.
I think so, but why keep all three on the postseason roster is my question.
Oh, I have no idea. Yeah, it's like, I guess there is a scenario, right? If Garver's DHing and you don't want to lose your DH, you need another catcher because Garver at this point is everyday DH. He never catches.
That's true. As for pitchers that have kind of gone under the radar so far, there's three that I could see. There's one that I've literally never heard of in Cody Bradford.
He's a lefty.
And then there are two that just have not gotten a whole lot of use in Chris Stratton and Will Smith.
Yeah. Good. Okay, yeah. So looking forward to the rest of that series. Let's move on to the Phillies and the Diamondbacks.
Phillies and Diamondbacks. Game one.
I think we'll start out by pre-game one.
Pre-game one.
Basically, okay. How did these teams get to this point in the postseason?
Hopes, dreams, a couple prayers,
and a lot of home runs.
A lot of home runs.
So both these teams hit 13 home runs in the first two rounds each, and that was the most among all the postseason teams. I mean, so quite frankly, they've just mashed against their opponents who completely went cold in the Dodgers and the Braves that just like did not have their normal performances. Meanwhile, all the good players on these two teams have played like stars, and that's how they have succeeded. So I thought that was like awesome to see. I guess like the stars are actually like doing the star things,
and that goes on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
The starting pitchers that you expected to be good have been really good so far this postseason. Pre-game
Nola and Wheeler. Zach Gallen, Merrill Kelly.
Yep. And then out of the bullpen, your Jose Alvarado, your Craig
Kimbrell.
Yeah, Craig Kimbrell. Like they've been, I don't want to say lights out, but they've been really good.
Same thing for the Diamondbacks. You got Kevin Ginkel, you got Paul Sewald. They've been lights out back of the bullpen.
Yeah, and so both these teams are rocking and rolling, and they are two unstoppable forces in a head-on collision.
Yeah.
So which one's gonna give?
Yeah. So I guess I'll address the offense part of it first. Of these two teams, I think it's pretty clear you'd say, if I ask you the question, which team is going to continue slugging like they have in the first two series?
Slugging, Phillies.
It's the Phillies.
Hands down, no questions asked. That's been their mantra the entire season.
Yeah, and they're like a top five-ish slugging team. They hit tons of homers. They just do a lot of things really well offensively. And the Diamondbacks are more playing above their skis here.
Philly is 5th in the league in slug.
Yeah. And the Diamondbacks, like they're more like mid-pack. They're more like 20-something.
17.
Right? 17th. So they're not this is not normal for the Diamondbacks to be doing what they've done so far, with Gabriel Moreno hitting 3 home runs in the postseason so far. It's usually like just their top guys like Corbin Carroll, Christian Walker. It's a handful of really good hitters. Then the bottom of the lineup is less than stellar, but
throughout the lineup for them, there's speed. There is guys who I don't want to necessarily say good base running just because
it's great base running.
All right. Yeah, I don't want to say good because I want to say great base running for the Diamondbacks. So like this is a team that could continue to produce runs even if they stop slugging, but slugging is definitely helping them right now. So it's definitely an odd matchup when you're just looking offense to offense. if the Diamondbacks come back to earth and kind of play the way that they've played the whole season, because you've got the Phillies who are very much homer or bust. Like, they've got a couple guys that have some speed that can run the bases, but like Schwarber, Castellanos, Bryce Harper, none of those guys are speed demons. None of those guys are going to beat out an infield single 70% of the time. You're kind of expecting them to hit extra base hits and just keep guys moving around the bases, or just empty them all at one time. Yeah. Schwarber had 47 home runs this year?
46.
I think it was 47.
We'll see. I think he had 46 last year and 46 this year. But
would you like to amend your answer before I tell you the answer?
I'm sticking with 46.
47.
Oh, okay. 47.
I actually got one right. Let's go. Oh, I'm so happy.
I shorted my guy.
Everyone in the chat hype emotes because I got one right.
Woo.
It's kind of rare.
Yeah, but Diamondbacks, like, they're not going to be able to stop the Phillies from hitting home runs in the series. The only thing they can try to do is limit the damage. They want to just allow solo homers, basically, kind of like they have today. They've given up 3 solo homers. And it's just kind of on their offense to be able to keep pace with the Phillies, and I really don't think that's going to happen over a 7-game series.
Yeah, I don't either. And they kind of needed, or the Diamondbacks, in order to do that, need to get good performances out of both Gallen and Merrill Kelly in the series, just because those are your two best opportunities to keep this Phillies lineup in check. Is once you get to Brandon Pfaadt, or you get to a game 4 of Lord knows who's starting, the Phillies are probably going to tee off on you, and those are going to be hard to win games. So you've got to make your easy to win games, and very heavy air quotes, bold air quotes. You kind of got to win those.
And even those on paper matchups for the Diamondbacks, starting pitcher wise, with Gallen going up against Zach Wheeler and Merrill Kelly going up against Aaron Nola, those are not even slam dunk favorites. You can't even give the edge to the Diamondbacks in either of those two games.
Honestly, I wouldn't give it to the Diamondbacks in either of those games.
Right.
I think legitimately, I would take the Philly starters in every single game of the series. But
yeah, when you get to game 4, it gets very sketchy for both sides.
Yeah.
Where I'm not sure what the Phillies would do. They would maybe go Christopher Sanchez, maybe they go Taijuan Walker. And then the Diamondbacks, yeah, that's even a worse situation where they would have to go full bullpen game, opener.
Can they sign Andrew Chafin real quick and then have him start?
I think they should sign this one pitcher named Madison Bumgarner. I think he's a free agent.
It's a good idea.
Yeah.
He was probably also on the roster September 1st.
He was on the roster before September 1st. That's a fact. We've been talking bad about the Diamondbacks. Like, they do some stuff really well. We talked about the base running. The other advantage that they have is defense. We all know the Phillies have really bad defense, and maybe that plays a role in this series because the Diamondbacks, they can go out and get them like anyone, better than just about any other team in the league. Super fast outfield, good defenders on the infield as well. Like, they got Moreno behind the plate. That could be a huge advantage for them.
And this is the absolute worst lineup to have Nick Castellanos make a big error on, because they're going to take the extra base and score. Yeah. Like, pretty much all of these guys, if you were to put it in video game numbers, like half this lineup breaks the 99 scale for speed. So
Yeah, and
If
I think we were trying to give Nick Castellanos some credit. I was looking to he's like basically the worst right fielder in the league this year. So he is really not improved.
yeah, and then he made a big error here in the last series that was just like, oh god, come on, man. All you had to do was stand on the foul line and let the other two fast guys take care of the outfield.
Yeah.
You couldn't even do that right.
Yeah, something to keep an eye on. Probably not for this series because roster's already set. But apparently, Reese Hoskins is getting very close to being able to play games, and you almost wonder if they didn't put him on the roster just because they're a little worried about making the defense even worse.
That would be my first thought. That and the fact that he's been out since May.
He hasn't played a game this season. He got hurt in spring training. He tore his ACL.
Right. Yeah, so he's not seen game action since February?
Yeah, probably March, yeah, something.
I don't know that I would stick him up against like still locating pretty well Merrill Kelly and Zach Gallen.
He's got the guy who's literally done what he's gonna maybe attempt to do in Kyle Schwarber as a teammate, who missed the entire season, then took like 10,000 pitches in Arizona in a batting cage and came back and starred in the World Series. So it would be cool if it happened.
True. I don't think Reese Hoskins is going to also put one on top of the scoreboard. Or that was the year before, wasn't it?
That was 2015 in the DS, yeah.
Oh yeah, because that was against the Cardinals. I remember now.
Yes, it was.
Oh God, quit bringing back these memories. I don't like it, Gotham.
You brought that up.
I know I did.
Okay.
Longo with a nice little jumping grab there.
Yeah, Longo out here trying to win a ring.
I hope he gets it, dude.
It'd be cool, yeah. What else you got on the Phillies and the Diamondbacks that we have not covered?
It's a good question. So weird head-to-head that doesn't really have a whole lot of bearing in anything, but actually it kind of does. Yeah, it kind of does. With the really good base running for Arizona, you kind of got to look at the other side of that too. Who's the guy that's going to be keeping them in check? That's JT Realmuto. JT Realmuto is one of the best defensive catchers, especially against the steal or the stolen base.
Exactly. I think he caught like 23% of runners this year. Pretty good number. And they were being hesitant in this game, and I don't understand it. Like, I get it's JT back there, but you got to stick with what you've been doing all year. Corbin Carroll made it on base to lead off the game, and then he just stayed there for the rest of the inning. He didn't take off. That's a guy that had how many steals this season? Like 50 plus steals?
Yeah, 50.
Yeah, I don't get that. Just change of style of play just because it's postseason.
Yeah, and then on the other side of that, like the Phillies do have a couple guys who can go if they want to. Trey Turner, like he didn't steal nearly as many bases this year as I think people expected, but he can.
Postseason, I think he has 4 steals already.
Yeah, and so that's kind of right there. Like Trey is now starting to take off. Gabby Moreno is also really, really good at throwing out base runners. So this is going to be an interesting matchup of just base runners versus catchers for the entire series. So
yeah, I feel like we haven't seen like a ton of stolen base attempts, and I would like to see some more. I want to see these catchers work.
Well, Bryce is on second right now with 2 outs. Will he steal third?
I'm going to go with no.
Come on. It'd be fun.
It would be fun. He would also probably get thrown out.
All right, we have a disengagement. Get a second disengagement.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this Diamondbacks pitching staff is really tested because they honestly were not tested. They haven't lost a game, so they haven't had to go too deep into the starting rotation. They haven't had to use a whole lot of guys in the bullpen because they've actually had good starts from Kelly and Gallen so far, and that feels like kind of a weak spot. I mean, I would give a big edge to the Phillies bullpen as well.
Yeah. I did not think they were going to send Bryce. I did not think JT was going to get that. The celebration there got some big cojones on him. That is a celebration for those of you who don't see the celebration right now. Do
you want me to act it out?
Well, I mean, people are listening, not necessarily seeing. Imagine Donkey Kong if he were juggling 2 oranges.
That was perfect.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah, I think the party's on for game 1 for the Phillies. They're up 5-0. So,
and the Diamondbacks are being 1 hit right now.
Yeah.
So they're gonna need to get that together. And I mean, they're playing in Philly. That's not an easy place to play right now. It's been loud in Philly throughout the postseason. Like it's been impressive. So, I mean, home field advantage majorly in Philly's favor. And so far this postseason, they've shown it that is home field advantage for them.
And last year, yeah, same thing. I know you're not going to pick the Diamondbacks, but what chance do you give them here to win the series, or at least make it really competitive?
I mean, once they get back to Arizona, the ball's going to die a little bit just because of how massive that outfield is. I think that'll help a lot. So honestly, this game, I'm more confident in saying this game might go to 6 than the other series. I could see a world where this game actually goes to 7. Phillies are likely going to win no matter what. I'm obviously rooting for the Diamondbacks based on the hat that I am wearing as we speak. I don't know. This series, I think, could surprise us. Like, it looks really lopsided through 5 innings of game 1 here.
We're definitely set up to pick the Phillies just because of what we're seeing on our screens right now. But yeah, let's not completely rule out the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, let's see how game 2 goes. And I think if the Phillies go up 2-0, I think it's going to be a quicker series than anything. But if the Diamondbacks can manage to snag one tomorrow and go back into Arizona tied at 1, it's anybody's series. It comes down to, can Brandon Pfaadt get through 4 more innings of good ball? And then who in the heck do the 2 teams throw out the next day?
And I think that is probably a team's realistic goal. They want to win 1 of the road games to start a series, and they can do that tomorrow.
Yep.
Okay, so those are the championship series. We got championship series all week, basically, and World Series starting not for a while. It won't start till next week, Friday, but we'll enjoy those series in the meantime. Anything else you got?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, thank you for listening, everyone, and we'll be back with you next week. If you enjoy the podcast, please subscribe on your favorite podcasting app and YouTube to make sure you don't miss any future episodes. Join the conversation on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at getawaydaypod. If you enjoy card collecting, check out our sister YouTube channel at Getaway Day Cards.